I remember that day clearly. The living room was quiet except for the sound of my wife and her friend chatting in the kitchen. I had just come home early from work, and instead of walking in, I paused when I heard my name. Something about the tone in her friend's voice made me stop. Then I heard her say, "You should never put half the property in his name. He doesn't deserve it." My wife laughed softly, agreeing, and that laugh pierced through me like a knife. She didn't know I was standing just a few feet away, listening. At first I froze. My hands trembled slightly as I tried to process what I had just heard. We had been together for years, built everything side by side, or at least that's what I thought. All the sacrifices I had made, all the late nights working, to make sure we had a comfortable life. It felt like it was suddenly worthless. I quietly stepped back before they could see me and went upstairs to my room. My heart was heavy, but my mind was sharper than ever. That night I looked at her differently. She smiled at me, served me food, and talked as if nothing was wrong. But I couldn't forget her friend's words or her laughter. I pretended to be fine, but deep inside a storm was brewing. If she truly believed I didn't deserve half of what we built together, then she was about to find out just how wrong she was. The next morning I started my plan. I gathered every financial record, every document, every receipt of the money I had invested into the house and property. Over the years, I had kept proof, bank transfers, bills, even signed papers showing my contributions. I had done it without any specific reason at the time, but now it all made sense. Days went by and I acted normal around her. I didn't want her to suspect anything. At night, while she slept, I worked quietly on building my case. I consulted a lawyer secretly, showing him all the proof I had. He looked at me with a satisfied smile and said, "You've done the hard part already. She won't see this coming." Meanwhile, my wife continued meeting her friend, and I could see how her attitude towards me had changed. She became more distant, almost careless. She didn't know that every little thing she did was only fueling my determination. I was done being the quiet, trusting husband. One evening, I decided to test her. I casually asked, "What do you think we should do with the property in the future?" She glanced at me and shrugged. "It's in my name, so I'll decide." "Don't worry about it." The coldness in her voice confirmed everything I had feared. She had no intention of ever acknowledging my part in it. That night I smiled to myself. Revenge was no longer just an idea. It was now a carefully crafted plan waiting to unfold. I had already made arrangements with the lawyer. All I had to do was wait for the right moment to reveal it. Weeks later, her friend came over again. This time I didn't hide. I walked into the living room and greeted them both. They looked a little surprised, but I kept my composure. I waited until the conversation turned toward money and property, and then I casually said, "It's funny how people think they know who deserves what." My wife shifted uncomfortably, but her friend laughed nervously. When her friend left, my wife asked me what I meant. I looked her straight in the eyes and said, "You'll find out soon enough." She brushed it off, thinking I was joking. She had no idea what was coming. A few days later, I called her into the living room. On the table were all the documents, neatly arranged. I slid them across to her and said, "Read." As she flipped through the papers, her face drained of color. Every page was undeniable proof of my financial contributions. "You thought I didn't deserve half?" I asked calmly. "Well, the law says otherwise." She tried to argue, tried to deny, but the evidence was ironclad. I told her I was filing for my rightful share. And not only that, but I was also filing for separation. Her eyes widened with shock. She thought she had the upper hand, but the reality was crushing her. The following weeks were brutal for her. Court dates, legal notices, and constant reminders of her betrayal followed her everywhere. Her friend, who had filled her head with poisonous advice, disappeared when things got serious. She was left to face the consequences of her greed alone. When the case was finally settled, the court granted me not only half the property, but also financial compensation for my years of contribution and emotional distress. She sat in silence, broken, realizing how badly she had underestimated me. As I walked out of the courtroom that day, I didn't look back. I felt lighter, freer, and stronger than ever. She had laughed once when she thought I wasn't worth half. But now she knew the truth. My revenge wasn't loud or violent. It was silent, legal, and final. And it left her with nothing but regret.